Let me now invite the Director of the U.S. Naval Strategy and Policy Division of the U.S. Pentagon, Admiral Mcquilkin, to present. But in doing so, let me once again warmly welcome you to Sri Lanka. You are one of the senior officers from the Pentagon to have visited our country in the more recent past. The orientation of the new government is not only to maintain ties with East, but also restore the existing relationship with Europe and with the US. And certainly as Sri Lankans, we all recall the assistance that the United States provided Sri Lanka, both in disrupting the terrorist network that existed in North America, but also the crucial intelligence that was provided by the United States military, especially including the Navy, to disrupt the Tamil Tiger shipping network. In fact, Admiral Willard, who was in Hawaii, visited Sri Lanka and provided that crucial information that led to the destruction of the LTT ships that was ferrying arms, ammunition, explosives to Sri Lanka. So you come from a great tradition of cooperation, collaboration. We once again welcome you to Sri Lanka and ask you to present.
Thank you, young man. How do I advance the slide? Is this the slide? Okay, thanks. Well, thank you, Professor Gunyaratna. I really appreciate that introduction. Ayubawan and Bahuma Stuti. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. I'm very happy to be here. Sri Lanka has a long history and a very rich culture. And I'm just very grateful that I have a chance to experience some small part of this while I'm here. In fact, last night I was watching the TV and they had the Kandi Esala Festival, the first Randoli Perahira. I hope I can pronounce that right. And it was just a wonderful, it's a very great cultural pageant. I enjoyed it very much. And I'm told on the last day I get to go see Kandi, so I'm looking very much forward to that. And then I also have to say to the officer cadets, when they told me that these were not professional dancers that started this pageant off, I could not believe it. What a great presentation and cultural display, so thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our strategy, and once again, I'll be brief because I know we're running short on time, but I just want to hit some high points. And the strategy's online, and I'm very honored to be here. First, why did we revise the strategy? I think it's always important to start why we revised it. Well, the world and its challenges had changed since 2007 when we had written our last strategy. There's the threat from North Korea, of course, Iran. We had the Russian peace here with the Crimea. Violent extremists, ISIL, ISIS, and how do we deal with that? We have the rise of China when we're writing our strategy. The challenges in cyberspace. Anti-access, which is a way of saying how do we maintain access to where we need to go with our ships. And then, of course, the impact of new strategic guidance from our government and also the fiscal constraints that we're under. All of us remember the 2008 financial crisis. So those kind of were some major drivers while we were thinking about writing our new strategy. And then how do we create the new strategy? We take the national guidance from our civilian leadership, the White House and our Department of Defense. They did a quadrennial defense review. And then we ensure that our strategy is in line with their strategy, the higher level strategic guidance and our national strategic priorities. We collaborated with our sister services. You see here, this is a tri-service strategy with our Coast Guard and our Marine Corps to ensure that we're approaching the challenges in the littoral and the maritime environment in a very coordinated manner. And then, of course, we vetted drafts of the strategy with select subject matter experts in academia and the think tank community and retired military officers. This was very helpful to us to get a second opinion while we were writing it. So what's enduring from our 2007 strategy? The first is the importance of forward presence. That just means our ships are out there, and that means being where it matters, when it matters. And then the next thing that was so important that we maintain is this working with our allies and partners. We are doubling down on the importance of allies and partners, and I can't understate that. And we talk about, in our new strategy, a global network of navies. This is a concept for informal, non-binding, cooperative relationships based on shared security interest, and we are much stronger when we are merging individual capabilities and capacity and producing a combined naval effect that is much greater than the sum of its parts. I'll talk about a few new things in the strategy. In the 2015 revision, we describe a modern and capable naval force able to fight and win when we need to. We talk about a fleet of more than 300 Navy ships, preserving an inventory of surge-ready ships, meaning ships that are ready to go and on call when needed, designing interoperable platforms that are also very adaptable, and then also continuous innovation. And this is a great conference to discuss innovation. There we go. Okay, so the next piece of this, our foremost in our strategy was obviously to emphasize war fighting first. It's a mindset that we have from maintenance to training, and it is a statutory role for us as a Navy to be able to fight and win. The U.S. George W. Bush conducted ISIL strikes in September and October 2014 when the President needed immediate options to curb ISIS advance in Iraq last fall. The George Herbert Walker Bush, the Carrier Strike Group, was on station and ready within 30 hours of being tasked. And it remained there for 54 days to give the President options until the order for strikes was given. I also want to talk about some of the humanitarian assistance and disaster relief that we do. And also, something also new in this strategy was all domain access. This is ensuring access to where we need to go. And it's a framework in this strategy to ensure that we man, train, equip to overcome any of the access challenges that we face in the sea, air, land, space, cyberspace, and the electromagnetic spectrum. There we go. Also new in this strategy is the Indo-Asia Pacific. We're very much focused on the Indo-Asia Pacific. I want to emphasize that again. And the rebalance to the Asia Pacific is more than just a Western Pacific focus. This broadens the aperture to include the Indian Ocean. We have involved our understanding of the region and also its challenges. The maritime expanse straddles two geographic combatant commanders. It has the world's most populous country, obviously, in China, and the world's largest democracy in India. Approximately half of the global population and potentially will contain 70% of the world's population by the middle of the century. And is also the center of the global economy, 40% of the global economic growth in the Indo-Asia Pacific. This is a maritime economy. That's what globalization is. It's running on container ships. The Indian Ocean has the world's most is the world's most important commercial highway. Sea lines of communications that are pictured here run through the Indian Ocean from the Strait of Hormuz to the Strait of Malacca, from the Bab el-Mandeb to the Sunda Strait. These sea lines of communication underpin the global flow of commerce and energy. Approximately 2/3 of the world's oil shipments transit through the Indian Ocean to the Pacific. In 2014, this included more than 15 million barrels of oil per day transiting the Malacca Strait alone, and with most of this continuing onward to the East China Sea. And also depicted on this slide, the same area is marked by many of the world's most important navigational choke points. 90% of global trade travels over water, and 15 of the world's top 20 busiest container ports are located in the Asia Pacific. So essentially, this is the economic lifeline of the world. Okay. And I also want to emphasize, of course, Sri Lanka with its strategic location. You saw that map is at the center of this very important region. I also want to talk about CS21, talks about sponsoring. Our posture will include 60% of our ships and aircraft to the region, the Indo-Asia Pacific, by 2020. This is not a new development, and it's not about any one country. We've always had interest in the region, like our forward deployed naval forces in Japan, our forces in Guam. There are regional threats like North Korea that we have to worry about, the missile testing that everybody was aware of a couple of years back. And I wanted to emphasize that by 2020, we will increase our presence of ships from 52 to 65 in the Asia-Pacific region. This slide is an important slide I wanted to bring out here. This is, of course, about continuing to cultivate those partnerships I talked about, which is so vitally important. We'll strengthen our cooperation with our long-standing allies in the Asia-Pacific, Australia, Japan, the Philippines, the Republic of Korea, and Thailand. India is doing so much great work with respect to designing indigenous-produced carriers and increasing their submarine fleet. The United States has a good partnership with Sri Lankan Navy, and there is room to grow. Already, we do very good work together in areas of maritime security, demining, and disaster response. For example, the U.S. Navy Explosive Ordnance Disposal Mobile Unit 5 conducted humanitarian demining engagement events with Sri Lanka in coordination with the development of demining requirements in 2012. And then also in April of this year, as pictured on the slide, we were happy to host a delegation of Sri Lankan naval officers and high-level dignitaries on board the USS Carl Vinson, our aircraft carrier in the Indian Ocean, to tour the ship and to witness the combat maneuvers in our aircraft. Our expanded regional presence in the Indo-Asia Pacific presents opportunities for greater cooperation with our Indian Ocean partners on maritime security and disaster release. We have the LCS ships stationed in Singapore, already making a great impact. Within 2 days of the AirAsia flight disappearance, the USS Sampson, a DDG, a destroyer, and its helicopters were on station in the Java Sea, coordinating surface and aerial searches with Indonesia's National Search and Rescue Agency near the crash site. And then a few days later, the USS Fort Worth, our newest forward deployed and stationed littoral combat ship, joined the effort after embarking riders from the diving and salvage units. In total, these ships contributed a lot of hours of search efforts to the mission. We do have a Marine rotational force in Darwin. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. And we also have potential for cooperative maritime security missions with our U.S. Coast Guard. We seek to strengthen our alliances and partnerships in the Indo-Asia Pacific with improved interoperability, more integrated exercises and operations. And here are examples of some of the ties that bind us. In disaster release and humanitarian assistance, we always have responded and will continue to do so in concert with our interagency and international naval partners, as we have with Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines in 2013, of course, Operation Tomodachi with the Japanese disaster in 2011, with Sri Lanka during the tsunami in Thailand, Operation Sea Angel for Bangladesh. We had two instances there, and also, as I mentioned, unified assistance was our Indonesian tsunami example. I want to just talk real quick about this network of navies example, because with our response to Sri Lanka over 10 years ago, it demonstrates this value of the global network of navies. In the aftermath of the tsunami, the USS Duluth, one of our amphibious ships, had 3 helicopters, and they arrived to supply from Japan to supply clean water to Sri Lanka. They were followed by our Seabees, the Naval Mobile Construction Battalions, and also some Marines from our expeditionary units. And they deployed to southern Sri Lanka to assist with the removal of debris. and provide engineering support. At the same time, the Indian Navy deployed a large multiple ship force and thousands of personnel to assist Sri Lanka, and that allowed the U.S. Navy to divert our big deck amphibious ship, the Bonhomme Richard, to assist in Indonesia. And this is a great example of this partnership and this network of navies. Maritime security. We always have to think about the threat from transnational criminal organizations and weapons proliferators, and also piracy. I want to talk about one more exercises that build partnership capacity. One is, this one pictured here is Pacific Partnership. And this was born out of the 2004 tsunami. And Pacific Partnership was conceived as a way to train and exercise in disaster relief operations on an annual basis. This, of course, is our hospital ship. And in 2015, Pacific Partnership includes personnel and assets from Australia, France, Japan, New Zealand, the Republic of Korea, and Timor-Leste, as well as NGOs that are providing support in 7 different countries. I participated in this in 2012, and it's just a great, great operation. It does so much goodwill. And this year they're visiting Fiji, the independent state of Papua New Guinea, Kiribati, the Federated States of Micronesia, Solomon Islands, Republic of Philippines, and Vietnam. While training for crisis conditions, Pacific Partnership missions to date have provided real-world medical care to about 270,000 patients and veterinary services to more than 38,000 animals. It's provided critical infrastructure development and has been supported in host nations during more than 180 engineering projects. In the center of the picture, I added that one in just on a personal note. That is the USS Vicksburg. That is an Aegis cruiser. That's a ship I was on about 20 years ago. And that's a warship designed for war. You see the 5-inch gun in the middle. But all those tarps and the covers, those are all people on the bow, the forecastle of the ship. And this particular day, we had over 700 Cubans that we had rescued in the Straits of Florida that had come from Cuba. And I just wanted to put that out there, that these ships are designed for war, but when we need to, we respond when and where needed. And I remember this to this today because it was I remember arriving early in the morning hours, and we were pulling people out of the water and just about anything that floated. And then for the Navy officers, it's about being flexible. In this ship, we went down for 3 weeks operation to do counter-narcotics and drug operations. We got pulled into this in the middle of the night on very short notice. And then from here, we went to Operation Uphold Democracy, where we almost went to war with Haiti when Aristide was overthrown. And that ship, we didn't pull back into port. We were just ready for those missions and be able to respond when we were called. And I think that's important, the flexibility of the naval forces. I would like to, how am I doing on time, sir? Just a couple minutes? Okay, good enough, all right. I'd like to just conclude with a few things. There's lots in the strategy, and it's online. I'd like to say that maritime domain awareness is another area ripe for cooperation in the region. Already, Sri Lanka has demonstrated the importance of maritime domain awareness through the formation of the Trilateral Cooperation in Maritime Security Agreement with India and the Maldives in 2011 to improve maritime security and maritime domain awareness in the region. So, in conclusion, in this turbulent world, the sea services provide the United States with credible, flexible, scalable options to sustain freedom of the seas, rapidly respond to crises, and deter and defeat aggression. Meeting these challenges requires that we embrace this global network of navies concepts. When we talk about partnerships and a global network of navies, the message really is no country is so big that they can go it alone, and no country is so small that they can't make a contribution. And that means that everybody in the region has a role to play. Thank you very much for your time today. I really enjoyed talking to you, and look forward to any questions you might have. Thank you.